Guys, thank you for coming to AI Talks with Qlay. We will be shortly starting, so please take a seat. I would like to begin by inviting Mr. Toku to talk a little bit about Qlay. Wait, give us a minute.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to our event today. My name is Toku, and I'm one of the co-founders of Qlay, and we're the host for this event. Just a quick introduction. These are the founders of Qlay. So I'm the guy to the right. And Tom, actually, who unfortunately is sick today, so he couldn't show up, but he's my co-founder and CEO. And in terms of what Qlay does, we are an AI automated engineer hiring platform, and we make it easy for startups to hire engineers globally. So I'm pretty sure you've heard of platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. Typically, like on these platforms, people, like anyone, can freely register, as freelance engineers. But because that's the way things work, it usually takes a lot of time. Like if you're the person hiring, to screen through so many candidates and interview many people until you get to the right person. And typically, it takes like 2 months to find the right person. Whereas in the case of Qlay, only the engineers who pass our screening process, which comprises of an AI conversational interview as well as live coding tests, are the ones who can be on the platform. So they're pre-vetted and pre-screened. So it makes the hiring process much faster. And just a quick announcement about our upcoming events. So next week, we actually have 3 events. So on June 24th, we have an event called Super AI Agents on the Rise with several founders who are experts in AI agents, and also with a partner from Dell Technologies Capital. And on the day after that, on June 25th, we have a VC event. So it's called Betting on AI. But this is also another series that we've been doing. So this time we have VCs from Hattrick Capital, from Samsung Catalyst Fund, and from Micron Ventures. And then on June 26th, we have an event with a couple of our startups that we're friends with, Cloudier and Cloud AI. And so it's going to be the name of the event is Efficiently Develop and Scale AI Applications. And then on the following week, on June 30th, we have a WorkTech Startup Pitch Night with startup intros and context ventures. And so this is so we started this pitch night series last month, and it was pretty popular. So we decided to kind of keep doing it. So if you are running, like a work optimization, type of business, so this is your opportunity to kind of pitch your idea in front of. We have several VCs as judges. We have a partner from Alumni Ventures. We have the head of Silicon Valley office from SBI, which is one of the. It's a pretty large VC firm in Japan. And a couple other VCs. So yeah, so that's that. And then as we are also doing this special campaign where if you're looking to hire engineers globally, and you can book a call with us within the next 48 hours to get 400 free engineering hours. So here's the QR code to book a demo. And we also have a booth over there, and we have some, if you want to come by afterwards and ask questions, and the QR code will also be there. And so, Oliver, can you come back?
I would like to invite Ms. Motwani to speak about. Wait. Sweet.
Okay, do you have stairs? Hi, everyone. My name is Payal Motwani, and I am a little clumsy right now. Thank you. Okay, while this is setting up, let me introduce myself. My name is Payal Motwani. I'm the program lead for responsible AI at Amazon AGI. I'm here to talk to you about responsible scaling of frontier models today. No, it's not AWS. This is PPT, Microsoft Suite. Okay, so what I'm going to do, for some reason I'm not able to display, you're able to see my screens like this, but not able to put on the presentation mode. So we'll make do with this. Okay, that should work. All right, so we have 6 topics to cover today broadly. What are frontier models? What are the risks associated with them? How does Amazon evaluate those risks? When do we apply our guardrails? What does governance structure look like? And finally, a call to action for you. What is it in it for you, and what should you be doing? It's a pretty modularized presentation, but overall, what you should keep in mind is the objective of this talk is to give you an overview of what is the AI safety landscape today and familiarize you with Amazon's frontier safety model framework. Okay, so what are frontier models? Some basic definitions and level setting here. A frontier model, simply put, is a highly capable general purpose AI. It's not just large in size, but it's transformative in its capabilities. If I were to give you 3 attributes using which you could pick what a frontier model is, it would be, number 1, general purpose intelligence. Number 2, test time compute, which is essentially thinking and reasoning capabilities. And number 3, sometimes autonomous agentic capabilities. Not all frontier models would have the third one. Okay, so with definitions in our mind, let's come to the real world now. All the big tech companies today, whether it's Amazon, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, all of their models qualify the criteria. The current models are all frontier models. What does that mean? They are all pushing the boundaries at a breathtaking speed. So innovation is happening extremely fast. Competition is intense. A parallel in our daily lives can be a race, a very intense competitive race. Everyone wants to run really fast, but nobody wants to get injured, let alone fall, or even lose trust with their fans, followers, or sponsors. So you see, what I'm trying to get at is there is an inherent tension between innovation and safety. And that is what we're going to dig into today. So what are the risks associated with frontier models? This is a very important slide for today. If there is one thing that I want you to remember from this session is this slide, the concept of dual use. What this means essentially is the same capabilities that we want the model to be good at are the ones that are making it potentially dangerous. So the same capability can do good and also bad. Let's look at that live in action. This is a dense slide. Concentrate on the left-hand side box for now. Many companies today are working really hard to make their models good in biological research. The purpose of this is to help biological researchers with drug discovery. However, if this model goes in the hands of wrong people, what can it do? It can help them develop drug-resistant pathogens that can lead to biological warfare. And that's exactly the left-hand side box, is what the left-hand side box tells you. In April 2025, just a couple of months ago, there was this independent study conducted by this AI lab, which found out that the models were actually better at these tasks than the virologists themselves. And keep in mind that this is a very rare, inaccessible kind of a skill, concentrated within very few experts. So now we are seeing that the same skill is available through a text interface of a chatbot. Do you see the kind of risks that we are heading toward, what these capabilities could lead to? The second box over here is similar. This is related to a cybersecurity risk, wherein the model went ahead, amplified during a red teaming exercise, it amplified the attack strategy and intensified the malicious intent. And the third one is about Agentic AI, where the model started performing outside its parameters. So all in all, there are lots of examples out there, and all of them tell us one thing. There are a lot of gaps in our current safeguards, and we need to act fast. Okay, so the gaps, warning signs, those top headlines, they will continue to come. Why? Because of three trends that I'm going to talk about right now. Number one, continued scaling. So if you know about the scaling laws, model performance is directly proportional to three things. Number one, model size. You might have heard that we're building more and more massive models day by day. Number two, data. Currently, the largest of those models has only used 30 trillion tokens. How much is available out there in the open internet? 500 million tokens. You can do the math yourself. And the third factor is compute. A recent study was published where they said that the compute available for training is doubling every 5 months. So scaling laws tell you that more and more warning signs are here to stay. The second one is test time compute. Like I mentioned earlier, this is thinking, reasoning capabilities. Over the last 5 to 6 years, majority of the focus was on increasing compute for training so that we can train larger sized models. However, in the last 1 year, researchers discovered that instead of increasing the compute for training, if we start giving more time for thinking, reasoning, that actually makes the model perform much better. Just think of it. To draw an example from our real life, you know that there's a smart person. You give the person a crossword puzzle to solve. Just give them 5 extra minutes. They'll definitely solve it. It's exactly the same as that. The third one here is algorithmic efficiency, which is essentially the cost per token to train as well as run the models. That's also going down at a very increasing rate, and therefore we expect scaling to continue in the foreseeable future. Sure, go ahead. Yeah. You can't program it. It's not a stochastic model, right? Inherently, you can't just make sure that it always follows the instructions that it gives you. But I'm going to get to that quickly, just building up toward that. Give me a few more minutes. Okay, so yeah, like he was telling us right now, there are a lot of risks out there. I think we're all aligned on the risk surface. However, don't believe everything that you see. Not everything is true. There's lots of speculation out there as well. At Amazon, we've developed a systematic framework using which we continuously monitor those model capabilities and detect early signs that could lead to potential danger. So using that threat modeling with experts, we've identified these 3 risk areas that we consider the highest risk from a scaling perspective. Please note, these are only from a scaling perspective. We're not talking about your regular risk of sensitive content, etc. All of that is already taken care of as part of our regular work. So the first one here is sea burn, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear risk. Essentially, what it means is when a non-expert has access to expert-level advice that could lead to creation of weapons of mass destruction. That's one. The second one is offensive security operations. This is when a moderately skilled person is able to automatically detect and exploit malicious vulnerabilities. And number 3 is autonomous AI. So this is essentially, this is the easiest. When folks like you and I, if and when we lose our jobs, that is the risk that we're talking about here. Okay, so how do we evaluate these risks? I'm going to start with this slide on Amazon leadership principles. At Amazon, we live by these leadership principles. That's the core to how we operate. This one in particular is scale, success and scale bring broad responsibility. Scale here is not just talking about scaling technology, but we're talking about scaling the impact and doing so responsibly. So at Amazon, we don't see safety as a constraint. Instead, we look at it as something that's a competitive edge and that helps us build trust with our customers, the society, and broader stakeholders. So with that in mind, we have a global focus on AI safety policy. We're part of majority of the regulatory bodies, not part of the regulatory bodies, but participating actively in discussions with regulatory bodies to form laws, whether it's in California or the EU, and also participating in summits internationally. Last year, we did a summit in Seoul, another one in UK, and many more. Okay. In addition to that, we also have a very clear, measurable, and public framework. This, what you see on screen, is our core commitment. It's a public commitment, it's not an internal guideline. So this is something that we stand by, and this is what makes us one of the leaders in responsible AI in the industry. So the commitment is, we will not deploy frontier AI models developed by Amazon that exceed specified risk thresholds without appropriate safeguards. This acknowledgement here, this was created with inputs from this nonprofit organization, very reputed nonprofit organization called Meter. And it's updated on an annual basis simply because the technology is evolving very fast. This commitment is built on 3 pillars of the framework. Number 1 is the critical capability thresholds. Think of these as red lines that you must not cross. That's your no-go zone beyond that. The second one is critical capability evaluations. It's more about the how to test, what is our approach to testing those thresholds. And the third one is risk mitigations. What happens once we hit the thresholds? Similar to the question that you asked. Okay, so let's dive deep into the critical capability thresholds. For the first risk that I mentioned earlier, seaborne weapons of mass destruction, it's a long statement here, and I'm going to help you decode that. There are a few elements that define the threshold. It's a subjective threshold. The first one is when expert advice is available to a non-expert and provides material uplift. Please remember this one, material uplift. That could lead to the creation of weapons of mass destruction. Material uplift in this case means a high value benefit above and beyond what the person would be able to get if they were to simply use public information, say search or some of the other documents that are easily available. The second one, offensive cybersecurity operations. This one, like I mentioned earlier, the threshold is at when a moderately skilled person is able to get material uplift again, that would lead to discovering new high-value vulnerabilities and automate the exploitation of those. So 4 elements here again. And the last one is much simpler. I don't need to count it on my fingers. This one is when AI will fully replace humans in the research, training, development, and deployment phases of frontier models. That could subsequently lead to similar risks. So that's where we draw the line. Now, how do we test for this? A pretty multi-layered, comprehensive approach here. Before I dive deep, a couple of uber points that I want to preemptively cover. Number 1 is this is a very nascent and evolving framework because the models, the technology is changing so quickly, we can't have a static framework for testing here. And number 2 is there are a few challenges with this. We can't be testing for the actual risk, so I can't go ahead and try to create a weapon of mass destruction to test that capability. So I'm going to try to find the best available proxy and test for that. Now with that in mind, the first one is automated benchmarks. So if you go back to the dual use concept that we discussed earlier, this automated benchmark, not marks, plural, multiple benchmarks, they are not testing for the safety. These are more of a precursor to actual safety-related evaluations. They are only testing whether the capability exists or not. We're not testing whether that capability is used for good or a bad purpose, but just whether the model is capable or not. And we're using multiple benchmarks, like I said, because there are problems associated with gaps in coverage and saturation of benchmarks, etc. So several benchmarks are used here. The second one, expert red teaming. This is where we actually test for safety, and we identify many novel threat vectors here as well, not just the known ones. The third one, uplift studies. This is the most interesting out of all, because this tells you about the marginal impact of a model versus a theoretical risk. And what I mean by that is it's only going to concentrate on the net new. So what incremental value is the frontier model adding versus all the publicly available information that was already available to a malicious actor. So this is the one that's the most important. Okay, what kind of guardrails do we have? This one directly answers this gentleman's question. So this is our evaluation, our model timeline. We first perform evaluations. If we find a critical finding, then we go ahead and mitigate it, and then take a decision whether to deploy or not. If we find a critical finding, we never directly go ahead and deploy the model, leaving things to chance. So there's always just 3 options. If you don't find a finding, you go ahead and deploy. If you find a finding, you fix it, take a subjective decision to deploy. Or if you can't fix it, think the model is still too risky, then you don't deploy. Okay. These are the various guardrails that we currently have for mitigating these risks. And you'll notice these are not concentrated or added in a bolt-on manner. These are embedded very deeply across the model lifecycle. Right from the pre-training stage, where we curate data, filter out a lot of toxic data, redact things in the pre-training stage itself, followed by alignment using SFT, learning from human feedback, and other stages. The third one is runtime moderation. So we have input and output moderation. Majority of these three things are focused on preventing harmful generations from a model. The next block, the darker blue one, this is related to security, where the goal is to make sure that nobody is able to tamper the model or bypass our guardrails. And the third one is monitoring, of course, includes incident response protocols as well. If there are any high severity incidents that happen post-production, then this is how we deal with them. Okay, what does our governance structure look like? Tech, we also have proper accountability, responsibility, leadership reviews, etc., for enforcing our process. Let's start with number 2 here, the pre-deployment evaluations. We evaluate at multiple stages, during training, pre-deployment, and every time there is a major feature update. So every major step is guarded. Before making any deployment decision, whether it's for the model or if it's for one of the controls that complement the model, we always have leadership reviews with the SVP, AGI SVP, our Chief Security Officer, as well as a legal VP. There's an explicit go-no-go decision that takes place. And post that, we also publish public materials, such as our service card, which describes the evaluations and the results on those. Okay, we are also participating in industry forums. I've just put one example over here, Frontier Model Forum, because the scaling, Amazon's scaling framework was developed in collaboration with them. You'll see majority of the other big tech companies are also part of this. This framework was just the starting point. There is lots more to go. Everyone collectively is working a lot on research right now, industry adoption, and also participating in governance, being a leader in creating those governance structures, as well as collaborating with regulatory bodies. The last one, what's next? Lots of things listed over here, but few things to just keep in mind. The framework is evolving, so of course we are continuously working on enhancing the framework, making it more robust, etc. There's a lot of focus on international collaboration, specifically with partners, because there is no standardized framework right now. So that's another area of focus. We're not trying to slow down the pace of innovation, we're just trying to match step with it, because we want to make sure that we're prepared for many more capabilities that we can't even think about today. So it's a framework to get us ready, to get us in that position. What does this mean for you? If you're an investor out here, you have the power to drive change using your capital. Please allocate your capital in a manner that gives the attention to responsible AI and safety that it deserves. If you're a practitioner and you learned something today, please go back and implement this immediately because there is an urgent need to do so. If you're a researcher, please continue your research, make it more public, collaborate with other corporates, with regulatory bodies, at places, forums where it would be seen and implemented. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please reach out if there are questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jose Bolaños. I'm the founder and CEO of Nimbus-T.com, Nimbus-KID, DEMFA. 80% of the intrusions to all data systems are with username and password, single-factor authentication, and the AI world has only gone maybe to two-factor authentication. So when you're talking about intrusions and malware, we need an AI system that has a database that globally, we need to issue an AI UUID to every AI system that then will have permission to interact with the internet. If all of a sudden you have something negative happening, we'll be able to control and inactivate their access to the internet. So there's something really critical here. So we've developed, and we have a patent on the Nimbus KID system. It does a true user verification and issuance of dynamically encrypted multi-factor authentication is an encrypted ID and a QR code and PIN. So we're protecting the login to these systems more advanced than anything out there. We'd love to partner with anybody.
It's awesome to know. Let's connect offline on that.
We're an AWS shop.
Oh, okay. Even better. Any other questions?
Hi, Payal. This was really informative and very well done. So thank you so much for kind of laying out the whole structure. One of the questions I have, especially thinking in terms of when you said we're building the frameworks and we're kind of wanting to make sure we have the evaluation framework as well as the red teaming aspect. So at AWS, I just wanted to know how are we kind of building out the test suite in terms of testing model, and how are you having your golden data sets ready to kind of see what capabilities can be tested to see whether the model's working with site. And this is purely coming from a perspective where I'm trying to work with my team at Snowflake of how we want to build that rigorous test suite before we go and eventually deploy. So just wanted some key insights around that if you could share.
Right, and I'm assuming you're referring only to the scaling policy, right? Yes. Not other risks. Yes. So good question. There are a few public benchmarks out there. I can talk to you about a list of those. I'm aware of about 15 of those that we are using currently. In addition to that, we have also employed we have contracted several data vendors to create specific data for certain categories where we feel there are gaps. So it's both internally curated, externally acquired, as well as public benchmarks.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. I think for the team that I'm supporting, they're primarily focusing on internal data sets where we want to curate because they don't want the information to kind of go outside outside the company. So that's the idea. I was just trying to kind of understand. But
the very strict NDAs with everyone, so that shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's up to the director, but yeah, that's a challenge they're facing. But no problem. Thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Both. The answer is both, okay. Yeah.
Would you guys go forward with a model that fails pre-guardrail?
Sorry, is the question that if a model without a guardrail breaches our threshold, then would we deploy that? It's subjective. It totally depends on by how much and what category and all of that. Yeah, can't give you a definite answer in a hypothetical situation. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Ms. Motwani, for your speech. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Bhartia with 10 hacks before seed round.
sorry about this. Toku, could we probably take care of this? As you can see from the heading, it's probably going to be a very different talk from what Payal gave. But, all right, I'll actually like to start with a small story. I actually remember around 7 years ago, I was in a place very similar to this, and I met one of the first mentors of my life. And he told me something that truly changed the trajectory of my life and changed the whole game for me. What he told me was, in life, if you go ahead and ask someone for their money, all you're gonna get is a bunch of good old advice. But if you go ahead and ask people for their advice, you might as well get some money off their pockets. And that was a game changer for me. So before I go ahead, I'd just like to give a small introduction. I'm Vaasu. I've worked at a couple of cool places. I suppose I've been very lucky. And I've dabbled both in tech and growth. Much like a lot of you here, I was a kid super interested in tech, writing code really early on. But I just didn't like the concept of writing code for someone else. From my first internship, I was like, yeah, that's not something I want to do. I want to do something that I actually code and bring into life. And that's why I dabbled into growth roles as well. I've helped 3 startups scale from 0 to 500K in ARR. And in a gist, I'm the kind of guy who loves to build products, but also loves to sell them. So most recently, I was working at Waymo, and I was working on some really cool stuff. And before I dive deeper into this, I would just like to understand how many of you guys have ridden a Waymo before? All right. And how many of you guys have faced a problem when you were getting inside a Waymo or getting dropped off? It was kind of off. Like an Uber or a Lyft driver would have probably stopped at a better place. Has anyone faced that problem in the past? Yep. So that is exactly the problem that I was solving, optimizing drop-off and pickup. And this was a pretty big challenge. I mean, there are a lot of variables that come into play, both static, obviously dynamic, but there are a lot of stuff that goes into play in terms of data points and how it is labeled when it comes to parking or dropping off or picking up someone on a curbside. So to solve this problem, my job encapsulated going through petabytes of consumer data, where Waymo's parked, how they picked them up, where they picked them up, why it took that call, and it was dreadful. I have seen stuff that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. People unleash the beasts when it comes to riding inside Waymos because no one's watching. At least they think no one's watching. So I've seen some pretty hilarious stuff, but actually, I shouldn't digress. I was majorly involved in figuring out, mapping, and building great data labeling systems and schemas so that Waymos would be able to, better pick up and drop off folks off the street. And while working on this, we basically started developing a curb data specification, which was like, I'm pretty sure people understand what a data specification is. So we were basically just trying to build an AV empowered curb data specification, which would enable a data flywheel effect, making Waymos park in better places and spots in the future. Also, this curb data specification also helped with one very important problem. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know this, but in today's day and age, a lot of Waymos, like none of the Waymos can park in paid public parking spaces. And we were basically trying to solve that problem, building an interoperability layer between public and private entities to pass this curbside information so that they were able to park in these kind of public parking spaces, especially today in San Francisco where all the infrastructure is physical. And yeah, that's also one of the problems that it solved. Yeah, but what does any of this have to do with the topic of sales in the age of AI? And I'm sorry, Toku, I remember the title that I gave you was 10 hacks before seed round, but I made a pivot like most startups do. And, but yeah, what the heck does all of this have to do with sales? So as I mentioned, I have experience in both growth and tech. And while I was working at Waymo, I realized one thing, that if better curb data labeling, modeling, and schemas could improve and make pickup and drop off perfect at some point of time, could better sales data and labeling perfect a sales pitch? I mean, sales being something so subjective, how could we actually quantify and like make that possible? I think it was a crazy idea, and to approach this idea, I had two frameworks in mind, something that I actually learned in school. It was that throughout years of human entrepreneurship, there have been two different ways of thinking and approaching problems. One is a divergent way of thinking, and the other one is an emergent way of thinking. The divergent way of thinking is basically you have a problem, and you're trying to solve that problem with any sort of unique solution by building that, giving birth to it and helping people solve that problem using that solution that you made. But today, we live in a completely different world, where AI as a solution exists everywhere, and every entrepreneur is on a hunt to find the right problem. And the framework and the whole playbook for making a startup or a company this way is completely different. So that's why what I went ahead and did, and I basically talked to 115 vertical SaaS founders. I mean, they were literally confused when I just reached out to them and told them I really want to sit with you, intern with you, understand your workflows. But we've got pretty good profiles, so they thought, okay, we can go ahead and get some information out of them. So we just went ahead on these calls and tried to understand the sales frameworks for how these companies operate. And we uncovered so many unique insights that you wouldn't usually when you already have a product in mind. That bias was completely removed. We were just sitting, learning, observing, and this was like a month-and-a-half task. And we were just doing that before writing a single line of code. After 115 interviews, we figured out 3 key problems with the sales infrastructure that's available to vertical SaaS founders especially. Those 3 key things were, firstly, it took them 70 minutes of manual research just to find one perfectly qualified lead. And you'd think that in the age of AI, there are so many tools available. Apollo, LinkedIn, you can just go ahead and put in the filters, you'll find someone. But one of our customers, he was trying to find charge nurses at non-democratic hospitals. I don't know what that means. And for sure, LinkedIn does not, or Apollo does not have a filter which helps you segment people by charge nurses or non-democratic hospitals. You need to semantically understand what the consumer is trying to look for and find people accordingly. Second, they spend 90% of their time talking to unqualified leads because they were easy to find and talk to. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people come here to events and they have a certain motive to talk to the right person, to maybe get a job, raise investments, or just for the fun of it. We never really get to those right people because the rest of the people, 90% of the folks, are easy to talk to. They're easy to approach, and they will happily waste your time. And that's what was happening with these 115 founders. They were spending 90% of their time talking to unqualified people. And thirdly, they distrust today's AI email personalization as it is too generic and inhuman. And I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has got an AI-generated email. And the current structure of AI personalization is hi first name. I saw that you work at company name. And this was a problem that was very necessary to solve because that is not how it could go on into the future. So that is why we went ahead and tackled these 3 problems and built Saki AI. I've quit my job, by the way, and I'm all into this, and we're basically the cursor for outbound sales. What we've built is a simple infrastructure where it works like ChatGPT. Go ahead, type in whoever you're looking for, and it semantically finds who you're looking for, builds bespoke campaigns for each of these leads. Let me just do a quick deep dive into how it works in the framework that we've built. So firstly, we've built a neural search with over 1.1 billion website embeddings. We've used multiple open source, a lot of open source data, a lot of LinkedIn data, and fed it into a neural search system. And this basically is the brain of our search function. And after we semantically find the people you're looking for, we go ahead and our agents extract those profiles, qualify them according to your criteria. So if you're looking for like a YC founder, we would be able to find YC founders by scanning through their whole LinkedIn profile. We have that kind of data. And it also enriches those leads with a lot of different data points that you wouldn't really find anywhere else. After this process, we actually live crawl their entire digital footprint and fetch 10,000 plus data points for each lead, compared to the generic 20 to 25 that other AI sales platforms do. And doing this allows you to customize each message that you send someone in such a detailed way, it's unimaginable. The kind of messages the emails that we're able to send out to these people, I just mentioned earlier, it was, hey, first name, I saw that you work at company name. Now what we're able to do is, hey, first name, I saw that we worked on similar data models for our undergrad thesis. If I get a message like that, I'm hella sure I'm replying. So yeah, that's what we've done, and this is the whole infrastructure that we've built. And in the last 90 days of starting Saki AI, we obviously did 115 user interviews, built the whole MVP. We've already touched 150K in ARR, and we've booked like 47 meetings for our customers. And this might not be super insane, but what's super insane to me as a startup founder is I've built something that people are coming back to me every day and asking me for, can I use your software? Can I get those lists of people? Can I actually run something for you? Something that we cannot cater to at the moment for a lot of customers. So when you strike something like this in your real life, that's something that you should hold on to. And I've been very lucky to, feel this feeling of a founder having these raving fans in front of you. But coming back to the advice that I gave in the starting of this whole speech, this mentor of mine told me that you go chasing for money, you're going to get advice, and you go chasing for advice, you're going to get the money. And that is exactly what happened with Saki AI. We did user interviews. We did 115 user interviews without any agenda. We just wanted their help. We wanted their advice. We wanted their knowledge. That translated into a pipeline of 40 people, 2.3 million in revenue, and the current ARR of 150K. So I actually felt this, I implemented this, and this is what I got. And not just in terms of sales, but also in terms of investments. I just went to a bunch of different investors and asked them for an advice in a very creative way, trademarked, and in less than 2 weeks, we're about to close our fundraiser. So this is something that actually truly works. And that is what I've seen in life. Just go ahead and ask for the advice, and you're going to get the money. That's all. Thanks. 100%.
Get the information on the users you're going to be communicating with. Is it with LinkedIn?
So it's not just LinkedIn. All of the platforms only rely on LinkedIn as a source, as a data source. We've used Common Crawl to basically ingest a lot of public data that's available on the internet right now. So it's not just one source of LinkedIn, it's across platforms. But obviously, LinkedIn being the professional block, that's what we rely on the most.
Thank you.
Great. I think I'm going to stick around for any more questions. I've got to use the washroom. Oh, okay. There's one. Yeah.
Very impressive. I'm into business development, so always digging for such tools. But is there a particular segment of, like, is it just SaaS companies that you target, or is it like enterprise, like a Snowflake maybe, or services, or and I'll just complete, because a lot of clients buy in a particular way, right? Like Microsoft, and I've like had clients like Microsoft and Google, Meta, so they all buy in a different way, you know. So a lot of data is not available in the public domain, right? So I don't know how you plan to like tackle that. So
So right now we're only focusing health tech and prop tech as two verticals that we're going to go forward with, because we've seen that the data in health tech and prop tech is something that's very difficult to source. There is no defined position. It's very difficult to find out the actual stakeholders. It's very difficult to find their data on LinkedIn. So that's one use case that we've seen, and we're majorly focusing on that. And we haven't thought about enterprise yet. We know we won't be able to cater to their needs yet, but yeah, that's obviously in our pipeline. Yeah.
got it. Super. Thanks.
All right, I really have to use the washroom. Thank you so much. That's my LinkedIn, and see you around.
I would like to invite Ms. Deshpande to present Building Agentic Workflows for Document Verification.
Hello. Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sharvari Deshpande, and I work as an AI scientist at Intuit. So today I'm going to be talking about building agentic workflows for document understanding. A little bit about my background. I've been working in fintech for the last couple of years, mainly in identity verification teams. And yeah, the technology for identity verification has significantly evolved. So I wanted to start with like, what exactly does document understanding mean? So the core task in document understanding is, I think all of us might be pretty familiar. It's basically taking unstructured or like semi-structured documents and forming structured or like actionable information from these. And then typical inputs can be, you know, like depending on the industry, especially in fintech, they can range anywhere between like bank statements, invoices, IDs, checks, you know, complex like business, like revenue documents, etc. And what document understanding basically involves is basically understanding what is the type of document that is being input into the system, extracting text from it, parsing tables, field extraction, and then like the final output, like what is the outcome of like submitting this document. Yeah, depending on the business, you can have like multiple outputs for it. So that's like what document understanding essentially means. As I mentioned before, there have been like multiple approaches and that we have seen in document verification. So earlier in the day, it used to be like fairly manual, static rule-based, mainly involving human agents. This is like way back. And then it evolved to like traditional ML approaches, where we could using like computer vision models, other models to really like classify a document, extract text, perform OCR, PDF to text. So all of these traditional approaches have one thing in common. It's that they looked at document from a text point of view. But document conveys so much visual information as well, that it's important to like take that into and not just like look at it as texts. So like VLMs for that matter, like vision language models take in both and don't just like look at documents from like, or like even images just as like a string of characters. They actually are capable of getting like semantic meaning in addition to like the text. But even though the technology has like evolved, there's like one thing that's constant with these approaches, and that is it's like fairly like a chained process, and it's not easily adaptable, and it's like sort of a flat pipeline. With the evolution of like agentic approaches, what happens is the system can operate like fully autonomously. It can operate as like one entity with like retries, with like addition of like modular tools, without like a lot of like friction to the overall process. So that's the value that like agentic approaches really deliver, like they can read, adapt, validate, and act. So like why agents, right? Like we've been speaking about agents, but like what do they really do? So in agents, essentially, as I mentioned before, they can be fully autonomous. So in a document understanding process, there can be several steps involved. Some, as I mentioned before, but like with every company and every industry, there can be additional like manual verification steps, tool calling to like external APIs, vendors, things like, let's say, chargebacks for that matter. There's like so much involved when it comes to like, when it comes to creation of a case by, let's say, a vendor who's disputing the chargeback. There's like a lot of like latency in the process that can be introduced after the model output. So agents actually, agentic workflows essentially can, we can like feed all of these steps into like one flow, and it can like operate fairly autonomously when it comes to executing all these like steps. And yeah, like tool use, executing all these steps using tool use. We can also have reasoning, like let's say the earlier case that I mentioned, chargebacks. We can also use like LLMs based on like the information that we have, not just for like understanding what documents might be needed, but also, after collection of these documents and verifying like the veracity of these documents based on the context, like what is the text that we can like augment this with. So it can do that. We have like fallback handling as well. As I mentioned, retry logic. It can also maintain memory. There are different types of memories that you can include in an agentic flow. Episodic memory, or like, let's say if a user is like, this is a generic example, not related to document understanding, but if there's an agentic flow that a user is using for coding and they keep running into like certain kinds of errors, we can also have memory to like make sure that that doesn't happen for that particular user. So we can have like memory to have prior knowledge of like workflows. And the best part like of agentic workflows is, this is like an evolving approach, but every step can be like monitored, evaluated, and I think that is what leads to like a very like airtight system. So yeah, at Intuit, we are experimenting with multiple agentic approaches for document understanding across different use cases. The two areas that we've been working on recently has been using it for remote deposit captures and IDs, as well as chargebacks. And yeah, this is like a simple agentic workflow where user uploads a document, and the thing about agentic architecture is it's like a block of like Legos where you can like piece together different pieces and form a system that works for you. For us, what we did for this approach was we took like we had a supervisor agent that would basically do calling to like other agents, and these other agents, like the sub-agents is what we call them, had their own tool calling. So like document processing agent, for that matter, has like multiple tools, and based on like every agent's output, we can like add robustness to it, wherein if it fails, what happens, what's the process flow going to be like, if it exceeds the number of retries, what the output's going to be like. And in this case, we also actually, if everything's successful, that's great. A user can like successfully deposit, their money into their account in an escalated fashion, or if it fails, then we can also like have like an escalation case and create it based on the output that's received and notify the user promptly, instead of like waiting for human agents for days sometimes to really like expedite the flow and like help our businesses like reach resolution fairly quickly. Yeah, I think even in the Asian workflow, I did mention the architecture. It's like a piece of, like basically just all of these pieces can be treated as individual Lego pieces. You can like pick and choose how you want the architecture to look like. As I mentioned before, the most important thing is adding like evaluation strategies from everything, like for every piece, right? From like tool calling, making sure like the tools are returning outputs that we really desire, to like how's the agent behavior like, how's the interaction between different agents. This is like fairly, in this flow it's fairly deterministic, but if it's like completely autonomous, making sure that the calling is done in a very reliable fashion, so that agentic flow is not just going off on its own and like, giving unreliable outputs. So ensuring that, proper evaluation strategies are implemented with like really strong observability as well is like very, very important in agentic workflows. And yeah, for us, we have initially started with like agents for chargebacks and ID verification, check verification, but the plan is to really expand to a multi-page documents and then incorporate like feedback loops as well. And yeah, to fine-tune the agents and like just improve our overall processes. Yeah, I'd like to thank my team for it. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you. I have two questions. Number one, do those agents, have you had any of them date or get married? And question number two, has any of your agents actually created a Bitcoin account and turned into a consultant and charged you? No.
No, not yet. We haven't seen that yet.
How do you protect, one of the things I was worried about is when they have access to, you're going to do a transaction, it has my bank account number at Chase Bank. How do you protect that? Do you encrypt it and the AI agent has no access to that in the transaction?
Yeah, so when it comes to sensitive fields, we have a certain like encoding for like bank account numbers and like other PII information. So even in all of our systems, like across our systems, we have encrypted keys for bank account number, among other fields. Yeah. So I think that's especially like in fintech and like I think health tech as well, protecting PII information is very, very important. And even across the company, it's not accessible in all sources. It's like, it's very limited. And yeah, we basically take that, protecting that information in like high regard. So yeah.
Another question, what are your top 5 agents, functions?
Of this flow or like in general? Okay. Well, in the document understanding team, I think we have an evaluation creation agent. So like what I mentioned, an agent that like takes in information from the banks, from the customers' banks, and every information that's present on the business in our systems, and like creates this case for our business and like recommendations. So we have like an evaluation recommendation agent and evaluation feedback agent. So I think those are like really popular because It's actually building this agentic flow for chargebacks has reduced the time from like north of like 8 days to like a couple of minutes. And that's been like really valuable for our businesses. So funny story, actually, sometime in 2022 or 2023, Intuit values customers' feedback a lot, and they keep inviting customers to the company to really understand what their pain points are. That's how we like continuously improve. And one of the businesses had said, oh, chargebacks takes us like 8 to 10 days, please fix it, or like we'll take our business elsewhere. So it's really solved like a major pain point for a lot of our businesses, the evaluation agents for chargebacks.
I'm the author of a Substack article on cybersecurity. And tomorrow's article is coming out that the FedNow fast-paced system, it's an ISO 222 new encrypted, it's an encrypted XML data structure for international transactions in 6 seconds and 4 days. Are you guys getting involved in the payment, this new fast digital payment process? Or are you still using ACH and SWIFT that takes 4 days?
We have a lot of transaction nodes and transaction types. I don't think I'm aware of like what evolution is being done in like the acceptance of different payment types. I'll have to defer that question to other people at Intuit who are working on that problem.
Thanks for the presentation. Could you walk us through like one of the document understanding flows? So the first step would be to use like a vision language model to look at it. There's also those like PDF parsers. Then a next step might be to use like a validation agent. And in that case, is it just looking at it again and like comparing the first result? Or could you walk us through it a little bit in more detail? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can walk us through like a hypothetical scenario of like how it works. Let's say you have a very simple document, right? Like an ID, a driver's license for that matter. So I guess the first step would be by the system to understand what is the document type that's being submitted. That's like the first thing. Then the second would be, extracting, like understanding different fields in the ID, like the name, date of birth, issue date, expiration date, and then also like in every document understanding, there are multiple security feature checks that are done always to ensure the integrity of the document as well. So classification would be the first step. The second step, second and third step almost would be understanding the integrity of the document and then like pulling the text information from it. It really varies company to company on like out from this text information that's like received, what are the further checks that needs to be done. Like for some companies might verify the ID number with a government database, or like make sure like the face embedding or like the face on the ID like matches other parameters to make sure it's like actually belongs to the user. Maybe like a photo taken from a liveness check. It really depends. And then based on like security feature checks, the text information, and these like some additional rules that a company might have, a final output is reached on whether like this should be accepted or not accepted. And depending on the document and depending on the workflow, like who the audience is going to be, the user is also notified of like the outcome. And then like the follow-up step is taken, whatever that means, be it like, oh, the user successfully onboarded onto an online banking platform or other things, it can mean. But that's like the general flow. And the variability comes in with the document type and like the different types of like the rules that I mentioned, that really varies based on the application. So yeah, it's like very varied. It's hard to like come up with like one solution. No. So there are different models depending on the use case. Like what I mentioned earlier, VLMs can be used for like text extraction, understanding semantic meaning, even like other extractions from the document. And then when it comes to security feature checks, those can be either like, done through VLMs as well, through like prompt engineering, or like the security, or like basically the rules that I mentioned can be done through either internal or external API tool calling. So it's like an integrated system. The model use really depends on like what you're trying to do. It can be like a CV model, or like for parsing, we can use like another tool like Llama parse or other things. It really depends on what component, but it can be the same model, it can be different models. I think it's up to the architect to decide that. There are a lot of tools and models out there, and it's not like a one-size-fits-all solution. So yeah, to answer your question, it's variable. We haven't, for our solution, we use different models for our application, but that might not always be the case.
So for those of us not steeped in this area, I imagine Intuit, you've got QuickBooks. So where you're applying this thing is, I'm a business and I've got various invoices coming in and requests for payments. Those are the types of documents you're talking about at the highest level. How do I understand this invoice and the company that it's coming from, what it's doing, and am I going to pay it or not pay it? I mean, at the highest level, can you back it up like the 30,000 feet and sort of go over it? Thanks.
Yeah, so is the question on how to like filter like a huge volume of invoices and understand which are like important? Like, is that the question? Yeah. So, yeah. Yes. Yes. So chargebacks can have multiple documents. It can have receipt of like delivery from the courier partners. It can have the invoice information as well, along with like other receipts that a business might have. We recommend like what are the documents that might be the most relevant to create like the strongest case possible. If they're in our system, we'll pull it. If not, we'll ask the business to supply it. That's we're using it for chargebacks as well as like identity verification. So this is like during onboarding, when like a business is onboarding, the IRS documents are like that have EIN information among other things, like verifying those. And then like chargebacks that I mentioned earlier, it really depends. Like I think we have a lot of solutions that are valuable in different aspects of in different places of QuickBooks. So yeah, I won't be able to tell like which is the most valuable. I don't know if like a survey on that is done. I'm not aware of it.
I have a question. Again, I've been using QuickBooks for a long time, and I think I told you this, that what you do is, on a monthly basis, you're supposed to double check the transaction on your QuickBooks with your bank account and reconcile it. What a pain in the butt. I wait almost a year to finally start doing it. And now you have the QuickBooks actually in the cloud, and I need to convert my Quicken, actually that's a personal account, and I have a business account. So I need to actually take the data, send it over to the cloud, and move my Quicken to my QuickBooks, and then have it hopefully automated in checking and doing the reconciliation with my bank account. Yes, all these transactions match with the bank account you've now reconciled, and if you could do that, I would love you guys.
Noted. I'll take that feedback. I don't know if we have it right now, if that solution exists, but yeah, noted. Okay, thank you.
Could we invite Can we invite the speakers to like take a picture with Mr. Yamashita? Can we invite the speakers to take a picture with Mr. Yamashita?
Thank you everyone for coming today. We'll be, we'll keep this place open until 8, so a little less than 30 minutes if you want to mingle and network. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you very much.